In this module, we're going to have a look at user personalization. Microsoft Dynamics NAV offers you a user interface which is based on your profile and your job role. But there are also many possibilities that we have as a user to be able to personalize the user interface and to tailor our own necessities. Let's have a look at an overview in this module. So I will start by explaining what's the difference between personalization, what we are going to do as a user, and configuration. And then we are going to dive into the application, and I'm going to demonstrate how we can customize or personalize the ribbon, the navigation pane, the page on which we are, fact boxes, fast steps, how we can create a chart, and then also how we can customize the different parts we have available on the Role Center page. Let's start by having a look at what's the difference between personalization and configuration. Now, if you're going to compare the two, personalization is actually what you are going to do as a user in the application. So all the modifications you are going to perform in the user interface will be linked to your own user. Configuration, on the other hand, is something that an administrator will do in the application, and that will be linked to your profile. So every member of the profile will have the effect of the configurations, but the personalizations are actually personal and only linked to your user. And that's a big difference between personalization and configuration. Let's start by demonstrating how we can customize the ribbon. The actions that we have available in the ribbon will depend on the page which is currently active. And as a user, you can add, delete, or move actions on the ribbon, and you can also create new tabs and groups. Let's go to the application. So here I am in my role center of the sales order processor, and on top of the page I will see the ribbon. Now, to customize it, I have two options. Either I can right-click on the ribbon and I can select the Customize Ribbon action, or we can go into the Application menu where there is a Customize tab available. From within here I can also go to Customize the Ribbon. Once we do this, the Customize Ribbon window opens, and here in the middle it will display the actions that we have currently available. And on the left side, it will display some actions which are also available in the application, which aren't shown yet, but we can add them in the current page. Now let's have a look in here. At the moment we have two tabs. We have Actions, which we see here, and we have Report, which we see there. I can create a new tab by clicking on the Create Tab button. Let me call this, for example, Test. And then I can open the test. And in here, I could create a new group, and the group will be shown in a few moments. Let me just type in a new group so we will see where it's going to appear. Then in the new group, I also have the possibility, for example, to add one of the actions from here on the left. So I will just select at random an action. I will select the sales journal, and I'm going to click on the Add button. Now I am going to click on OK. The application is going to refresh, and now I can see my test tab, which has become available, the new group, and in the new group, the action. And if I'm going to click on the action, I will now be redirected to the sales journal. And the page is opening. Now, on every page on which I reside, there is a ribbon, and on every page I can customize the ribbon. So also in this page, I have the possibility to create tabs and groups and menus, and I can also change the way the information is presented. So let me go back to my role center. And I'm going to customize the ribbon again. And let's have a look in the Actions tab. I have some new document options. I can create a new sales invoice. And I can rename the action New Sales Invoice Steven. This is my action. I can also select an action, and I can change the default icon size. You can use the default or make it a small one or a large icon size. Usually the actions that we are going to promote, we're going to give them a big icon, and the other actions we are going to give them a small or a large icon size, depending on our preferences. We also have the possibility to rename or to remove an action. Then I can search for actions here on the left side. If I would look, for example, for a customer, I can just type in Cust, and we can see all of the actions which have the word Cust in them appearing in here. So for example, I can select a report and I can add it in here. Then if I would like to move it around, I can also select the action, and then I can, for example, move it up and move it down. I can now click on the OK button, and the ribbon will be refreshed according to the modifications that I have performed. Here I can see my report. Actually, a report that should be added in the report tab, so let me modify this. I'm just going to customize the ribbon again. And what I have done in here is I have my report and I'm going to move it down. So let me click on the move down button until I am actually in the report tab, and then I can click on OK, and now the action is here in the report tab. Now, it's as simple as this. Now, you should also remember that if I am personalizing the ribbon, for example, or any part of the application, this is going to be stored for my user only. And if I would like to go back to the defaults, we can click on the Restore Defaults button, and the page will be restored to its defaults. In this lesson, I'll demonstrate how we can customize the navigation pane. And the different ways to customize the navigation pane are, we can add and arrange navigation pane buttons, and we can also restore to defaults. Let's have a look at the application. So the navigation pane is the pane that we see here on the left side. I can see the Home, Posted Documents, and the Departments button. And in each of these areas, I have some actions. To be able to customize it, we have two options. Either we can right-click and we can go into Customize the Navigation pane, or I can go into the Application menu, select Customize, and then go into Customize Navigation pane. And both options will open this window. Here on the left side, I will see the navigation pane buttons, Home, Posted Documents, and Departments. If I want to, I can, for example, create a new button. Let me call this Sales. Then I can also select an action, one of the buttons or the images is a better word. And then in Sales, for example, I will also be able to add some new options which I can select actually from the departments I have available. So I will go to Sales and Marketing, and I'm going to select, for example, Customers in here. Then I'm going to click on Add again. I will go to Sales and Marketing. I'm also going to select my contacts and so on. I can also have a look here in the list of actions we have available in the home of our role center. I can select an action and you can move it up, you can move it down. What I can also do is, for example, in the action Sales Invoices, I can copy it to one of the other menus that we have available. For example, I can copy it to the Sales menu and that I have just created. And we can also remove an item. Instead of copying, I can move an item to another menu. So we have lots of options to customize the menus which are being shown in here. If I'm going to click on the OK button, you're going to notice the application is going to be restarted. And once the application is restarted, the actions are in effect. Now I have my new Sales menu with the actions and that I have provided. If I click on them, obviously they will work and I will be redirected to the lists that I have selected. I can also go back to the customization of the navigation pane, and if you want to, you can click on the Restore Defaults button and to have everything restored to its defaults. As a user, we are also able to customize the page on which we currently are. Let's have an overview on all of the types of customizations we can perform on any page. So if I go to customize this page, one of the first things I can customize are the display options. Let's have a look in the application how we can do this. Here I am in the application and I've opened the customer list. And what I can do, for example, if I can go into the application menu, I can select Customize of this page. A new window will open and the first thing which is displayed are the display options for the customer list, the page on which I currently am. What we can do is we can enable or disable the filter pane to be available. And by default, the filter pane is the pane that we have here, which I can expand and collapse, which allows me to perform a filter. And by default, it's available on all list pages, but if you want to, you can disable it for this page. The same is true for the fact box pane. The fact box pane is the pane here on the right side, which displays all of the fact boxes. I can also disable that. And the Enable Automatic Filter and Lookup fields is an option that I can disable, so I won't be able to look up anymore in fields. So these are the options that we have available in the display options, and I can customize them for every page. In this case for this list page, but it can also do it for all of the other pages. The next option that we have available is the Select Columns on List Pages. Let's see how we can do this. So here I am on a list page. It's a list of customers, and the list displays a number of columns with information. Now actually the data is coming from a table, and in the table we might have many more fields. So to customize this, I have two possibilities. Either I can right click and then we can choose our columns, or I can go actually into the customization of this page and I can also select the columns in here. A window opens, and on the left side I'm able to see all of the columns which currently aren't displayed. I can, for example, select them, add them to the right so they will become available in the list, and then I can move them up and move them down. I can also select any of the other columns and move them up, move them down. There's also the freeze pane, which I can remove or I can re-edit. I can also move it up and move it down. And the freeze pane, as we can see, is right below the name field. It means that all of the fields before the freeze pane will be fixed. If I'm going to scroll to the right in the list, the other columns are going to scroll, except the columns which are actually frozen at the moment. So in any page, I have the possibility to select the columns I would like to have visible by default. The next thing that we can do is we can also add and remove fact boxes. How can we do this? Well, the fact boxes are shown here on the right side of the page. Currently, I have the sell to customer sales, customer statistics, links, and notes. I can change this. I can go into customize, and then we can also select or choose the fact boxes. At the moment, I can see the fact boxes we have currently available. I can, for example, remove some of them, and then I can see the available fact boxes, which I can then also add into the page. And then I can also, once I have added them, I can move them around, move them up, move them down, and so on. Once I click on the OK button, the window will be refreshed, and we'll be able to see the modifications in the fact boxes that I have performed on this list. I have done this in the customer list page. I can also do this in any other page which is displaying fact boxes. What we can also do is we can add and remove fast tabs. Now, what's a fast tab? Let's have a look in the application. If I go, for example, to a customer card window, and the information here in the customer card window is divided into tabs. And they're very fast. I can collapse them, I can expand them. These are the fast tabs. We also have the possibility to customize these fast tabs by going, for example, into the customization menu. Then I can go into customize this page. If I go here to fast tabs, I'm able to see the fast tabs which are currently displayed in the page. And we can move them up and we can move them down. And I can also, for example, remove a fast tab or add it again later if I would like to see it again. Once I click on OK, the window will be reopened and the modifications I've performed here in the fast tabs will be visible immediately. We can also customize the ribbon depending on the page which we are in. So let me go back into the application. From within, for example, the customer page, I have the ribbon here on top, which I can customize by performing a right click or by going also into the application menu. I can select customize ribbon. I've already demonstrated how we can customize the ribbon, so it's a quick reminder, and that is actually also possible in every page in the application. Now, the contents of fact boxes we see in a page can also be customized. Let's have a look at how we can do this. So here in the customer list, I can see a number of fact boxes, and these fact boxes display very interesting information. Now, we also have the possibility to customize the information or the fields we have available in the fact box. We can do this in two ways. Either I can select the fact box and I can click here on this icon and select the customize option, or we can go again into the application menu, customize, and then I can, for example, go to choose fact boxes. The fact box that I have selected in here on the top, I can then modify by selecting the Customize Part option. This will display a window in which all of the fields that are currently displayed in the fact box are shown. I can select the field, I can remove it, I can select another field, and I can move it up and move it down. Next, I can click on the OK button, close the window, and the fact box will be updated, and I can see the changes that I have applied. The fast steps, which are shown on typically document pages and card pages, can also be customized. Let's have an overview. So if we are going to customize a fast step, the first thing we can decide is which fields are shown in the fast step. Then we can also decide how that should be visualized. We can use the importance property, we can set it to standard, promoted, and additional. And then there is also the quick entry property that we can use. Let's see the effect of these properties inside of the application. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a document, or in this case the card page for a customer, in which we can see all of these fast steps. And then we are going to customize the way that the fields are displayed. So I'll go into customize of this page. And then I'm going to go to fast steps. Here I can select one, for example, general, and I can click on the customize fast step button. Next, what I'm able to see is an overview of all of the fields we have available. So we can rearrange them by using the move up and move down button. I can also remove a field if I don't want to see it. And then what we can also play with, for example, is the importance property. And the importance property is going to define how the field will be visualized. I can set it to standard, which is the default, promoted or additional. If I'm going to set it to additional, which is already the case for some fields, for example here the city, and I'm also going to do this for the country region code, then the field is not going to be displayed by default in the fast step. And you can see I can no longer see the fields in here. But instead there is an extra button, show more fields, which I can click on to show the additional fields. And then I can click on it again to hide the additional fields. So this is actually used for the fields that are less important. Let me go back to the customization. So I will go here into customize of this page, fast steps, general, customize. The next thing that we can do is, for example, for my city, change the importance property from promoted or from additional to promoted. Now the promoted actions actually are very interesting, because all of the fields which have been set to promoted are going to be visualized when we collapse the fast step. As you can see here in each of these fast steps, I can see the values of the promoted fields. So we are going to do this for the most used or more interesting fields to already be able to see them without having to open the fast tab. Then something else that we can do for every field, if I go to customization of the fast step again, is I can select a field, for example, the name of the customer, and then we can enable or disable the quick entry property. And now quick entry is an interesting feature. It's not always enabled on all of the fields. And the fields which have quick entry enabled are going to be entered first when we are going to modify the page. So if I'm going to move along from one field to another field, I have two possibilities. I can use the tab on my keyboard, or I can use the enter key. And if I have fields for which the quick entry has been enabled, well, they will be entered first. So we're going to enable this for the most important fields, which needs to receive a value whenever a user is going to modify the page. In the application, every list page has the possibility to be visualized as a chart. And then in the chart, we can select our dimensions and the values we would like to show. Let's see how we can do this. So if I go to a list page, for example, customers or items or vendors, what you will notice here in the ribbon is the option Show as Chart. If I select it, and then I will get a chart designer, and I can start to create my own personal chart. The first thing I'm going to select is a measure. And this should be, for example, a numerical field, which is going to display an amount. So for example, I am going to go to the customers. I'm just going to select a field, for example, payments. The next thing we can do is we can select the dimensions of our chart. So if I would like to see the payments by city, I'm going to select the city fields. And then I can also, for example, select another field. Let me scroll down a little bit. I'm going to select the country region code. Now the application is going to refresh, and I can see the number of payments by city and by country. Of course, if I don't select here a dimension on the left side, the chart will be modified to have a two-dimensional view. And then we can have a look at the information which is currently shown. I can hover my mouse over it to see the individual values. And we can also, for example, zoom in if you have a lot of information. And what I can also do is I can right-click on the chart, copy it, export it as a picture. I can print it, for example. I can reset it, or I can customize it again. Queues are a very important part of every role center. And as a user, you can also customize how and where they are actually shown. Let's see how we can do this. So here I am in my role center, and as we can see, we have these queue icons in here, and they're visualizing information. And the first thing I can do is I can go into the application menu, then I can go into the customization of this page. I'm going to select the activity part, and then I will click on the customize part button. In here, I can see a list of all of the queues which are currently shown, and you can rearrange them by using the move up and move down button. And you can also, for example, remove a queue. I can make all of these modifications for the queues in here. I can also restore them to defaults, and then I'm going to click on the OK button, and the window is going to be refreshed. So we can rearrange where the queues are visualized. Then what we can also do is, I can, for example, click here on the Customize button, and instead of going to Customize, I can also go to the Setup of the queues. And here, as a user, I will be able to modify which colors are going to be used for my queues. Actually, I can set up my key performance indicators. For example, here in the queue which displays the delayed orders, I can select a style, favorable, unfavorable, ambiguous, and subordinate. And the style will actually be reflected in the color that's being used. I can do this for the low, middle, and high range styles. And this will actually determine, for example, if the number of delayed orders is below or equal to 1, then this color should be used. If it's between 1 and 20, it should be here in orange. And if it's bigger than 20, it should be unfavorable. I can set this up for all of my queues, and once we click on the OK button, it will be reflected in the application. And then we can modify the way or the colors that the queues are displayed according to our personal preferences. In this module and in the module on the user interface, we saw how important the role-tailored concept is in Microsoft Dynamics NAV. That's why it's very important that each user has a role center assigned which best fits her own job description. Let me show you how we can assign a role center to a user. So here in the application, I have went here into the administration menu, application setup, role-tailored client. What we see here is a link to profiles. Here we can see a list of all of the profiles and we have currently available in the application. And by default, we have about 21 profiles. I can see, for example, the profile of the order processor, and I can open the window to see a little bit more details. We can change the description if we want to of the profile. I can link it to the page which is currently displayed. And I also have the possibility to enable or disable other options. And here I can link it to the page. So what I can do is I can create a new profile. As soon as a developer has created, for example, a new page, I can create the new profile, and then I can link it to the role center ID, and that is going to be displayed. Here I can select, for example, the page which is showing the profile or the role center of the order processor. I can also enable or disable some options. I can disable the personalization option, so everybody who is assigned this profile will no longer be able to perform personalizations in the application. I can also make it the default role center, which means that if a user is going to log in and they have not been assigned a profile, they will be using this profile. So I'm going to set up the profile, and the profile links to the page, which is the role center. Then what we can do is we can also go into user personalization. And in the user personalization window, what we can do is we can link a specific user ID to one of the profiles that we have defined. So here I'm going to set up the link between the user and the profile. I can assign multiple users to the same profile, and if that user is going to start the application, this is the profile they will get assigned. What we can also modify is, for example, the default language and company which will be opened when this user is going to log on to the application. So it means actually that when I launch the application, the profile that I'm using is going to be linked to the Role Center page, which is going to be displayed when I'm going to start the application. In this module, we have seen how we can personalize and configure the application to tailor our needs and sentiments. And we've seen how we can change the role center, how we can customize fast steps, and all of the elements that we have available on a page.